In the meantime, the FDA has authorized new COVID booster shots designed to target the most common variants. It's unclear how effective they will be. Experts hope it will prevent a fall surge. ABC's Ariel Reshef has the latest.
Those boosters are specifically tailored to target the Omicron BA4 and BA5 subvariants, which now account for 99% of new cases in this country. So what's the timeline here? Well, the CDC advisory panel expected to meet today. Then the CDC director likely to sign off shortly after that. So we could see those shots going into arms just after Labor Day. As for who will be eligible, well, if these shots are approved, they would be available to anyone over the age of 12 for Pfizer's shot and over the age of 18 for Moderna's, to be given at least 2 months after your last dose. And the FDA says it's still unclear exactly how effective these boosters may be. There's just simply not enough data yet. But like the original shot, it would take up to 2 weeks to build up to full protection. Deirdre?
Ariel, thank you so much. Tomorrow, the Biden administration will pause its offer of free at-home rapid tests. The senior administration official telling ABC the move to pause the program is to preserve our limited remaining supply. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre saying earlier this week that Congress has not provided the COVID funding we need to replenish the nation's stockpiles of tests. That is a direct quote. At this moment, we want to bring in a physician and Stanford Children's Health ABC News contributor, Dr. Alok Patel, for more on this. Dr. Patel, great to see you in person. Thank you for coming in. So what will this impact as far as these new vaccines have on how we're managing the COVID crisis?
Well, simply put, the new vaccines, what we're talking about, what we're going to be seeing from the CDC today and tomorrow, is essentially there to prevent a potential fall surge. Now, obviously, we're getting into a game of variant chasing, because this bivalent vaccine is targeting the first Omicron strain, then also BA4, BA5. But what we're looking for is we want to see what the CDC's wording is really going to be in terms of recommendations. We're seeing Pfizer above 12, Moderna above 18. Is it going to have an exemption for certain areas if you've recently had a BA5 infection? All these details we're waiting to see, and hopefully see that final approval by Director Walensky.
And then what about people who already had a second booster? The timing of what's recommended seems a little bit unclear.
Well, what we're expecting to see is that recommendation saying 2 months after your previous booster. But again, is this recommendation going to be across the board, or is there going to be a difference in people who are above 50 versus those who are younger? And we also have to remember that we need to get our overall booster rate higher, with only about 30% of people above the age of 50 having gotten their regular boosters.
And the government is also planning to stop purchasing COVID vaccines starting next year. I mean, is this a safe decision, just considering where we are?
I would say it's not a safe one, but it feels like a necessary one in terms of funding and with what you mentioned about preserving resources for what may happen this winter. And Deirdre, this is not just affecting vaccines. This is affecting testing. This is potentially affecting the infrastructure to administer those vaccines as well. So all of this is something we need to pay attention to.
CDC meeting later today about these updated booster shots. So what does that change, if anything, in what the government says and then potentially our behavior?
I think it's going to look, we're going to be seeing two things. First of all, we're going to see what data is they actually are going to come through when it comes to these bivalent vaccines. We know there's no human trial for this specific vaccine. There is some trial reported from previous bivalent trials that were looking at Beta, Delta, and Omicron. So what is that data really going to look like in terms of translation? And what do we need to be thinking about moving forward? Obviously, we're not going to eradicate COVID-19, but we have to do what we can to hedge our behavior against any potential infections, fall surge, and also long COVID and all these other complications that can still happen, as we're seeing about 500 Americans still die every single day from this virus.
So if the CDC, which we assume is going to greenlight these shots, what does that change?
I think it provides the added urgency to people, saying that the pandemic is not over, and also we're starting to shift a conversation, as we've seen in headlines, about comparing this to an annual flu shot, meaning, guess what, the virus is here every year, but we now have the tools to do what we can to mitigate the long-term effects of it.
So that makes sense. Do you think that we are all going to be asked to get a booster once a year, for example, against COVID?
I think we should be prepared for that reality. We know that even with a flu vaccine, we're still losing about anywhere between 20 to 50,000 Americans every single year. We only have about 50% of Americans getting their flu shot every year. And so is this going to be something that we're seeing with COVID-19 as well? I think it's a total possibility, given how quickly the virus mutates and how we clearly haven't done a great job globally in eradicating it.
Dr. Alok Patel, thank you. As always, great to have your expertise. Great to see you here in person. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.